We've all heard of the golden rule. Do unto others as we would have them do unto us. I'd like to share with you the other side of the golden rule coin, if you will. But I want to share it to you with a little story that I think you might be able to relate to. I recently had a visit with a friend of my family, a young woman, about 24 years old, and she was going through some really awful things in her life. She had to make some really awful decisions for her family, for everybody involved. She was suffering from family members of hers that she loved dearly, battling sicknesses and diseases. For a 24-year-old young woman, this was an incredible burden, and I'm not afraid to admit that it was a burden the likes of which I had never handled myself. I had a lot of sympathy for her. In that moment of standing with her in her pain, she asked me a question. How could she sleep with herself for doing what she had to do? My answer to that was this. You go to sleep at night by knowing that you simply did the best thing for everybody involved. You did what you could with what you had, and everybody in your family is safe. This young woman would have some incredible advice and nurturing love for anybody else that was in her position. And as I was talking to her, I asked her to consider, just in that day itself, what her body was going through, just from the intensity of the traumatic situation she found herself in. What was her body going through? Her body was going through quite a lot. And then I asked her what she would advise somebody to do who was going through the same thing. Go home, cuddle up in a blanket, eat some Chinese food, watch some Netflix, zone out, do whatever you could to comfort yourself. And I advised her that no matter what she was going through, there wasn't much that was going to work until she did for herself what she would have other people do for themselves. We can have lots of help in this world. We can have psychotherapists, we can have psychics, we can have herbalists, we can have doctors, we can have all sorts of advisors and consultants and helpers, but none of those folks can we carry in our pocket with us all the time. The human mind always has one part that's talking and always one part that's listening, and when we find ourselves in a moment of pain or turmoil, a really solid plan to get through it, to get on the other side of it, is to simply do for ourselves what we would have other people do for themselves. The other side of the golden rule is this. While we do for, or we hope that we do for others as we would have them do for us, we must do for ourselves what we would have other people do for themselves. So think of an incredible challenge in your life right now. Think of something that you're struggling with. And then think of what you would tell any other member of the human race to do with that struggle if they had it. That's your wisdom. We must do for ourselves, in the face of all our challenges and obstacles, what we would have other people do for themselves.